Welcome to the Thundercast, your Marshall Athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans, with your hosts, Russ Livingood and KD Hugnall. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week, so keep it right here. The Thundercast is on the loose. What's up, everybody? Thanks for downloading this very, very quick episode of the Thundercast. First and foremost, Happy New Year. It's 2026. And, well, what brings with that right off the rip in 2026 is the transfer portal, and that's what this episode is all about. It's try to get you up to speed on kind of what is and what isn't going on with the transfer portal right now, because it's fixing to open tomorrow on January the 2nd. So you can count on a little bit of hell breaking loose, but we want to get you the facts and figures going into 1-2 so that you know what's kind of going on. You can always follow us on Twitter at Thundercast_pod. And of course, download the Thundercast anywhere you love to download and listen to your favorite audio podcast. And of course, we're available in video format on the Thundercast YouTube channel. And we might as well talk about this. Also available at thundercast.online, which will be undoubtedly your best stop to track the Marshall transfer portal ins and outs. Russ, 1-2 January 2nd is going to kick it all off for the first time where we're back to a one portal window season type deal. And of course, there's some extenuating circumstances that will allow you to go outside the window. We want to let people know what is going on with that. But let's talk about what's about to happen.
Yeah, January 2nd to January 16th. Now it's only a 2-week portal entry. Previous years, there were multiple different portal windows down to one, like you said. Opens on the 2nd. So everybody that you have seen on social media, for the most part, when they have made an announcement, it is their intentions to enter the portal. They're not technically in the portal because the portal is not open, but it will be most of the time by someone watching or listening to this. It will now be open. January 2nd, as when it starts. We're recording this the night of the 1st. 2 weeks is all they have. If they have not gone into the portal yet because it hasn't been open, there's technically nothing for them to withdraw. They can just decide not to go in during these next 2 weeks, no matter what they've said on social media. Don't know how rare or prevalent that would be, KD, but I'd say probably not going to see that too much. And then you may have teams that say, hey, you've already announced that you're leaving, so we've already looked to replace you.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. If you've made that social media announcement, you have made your mind up that you're going to do this. And barring any 11th hour new information, let's say that, new occurrences, you're probably pretty committed on your decision to enter the portal. And I think that's where a lot of people are already getting hung up, because we have retweeted, reposted a lot of guys who have announced their intentions to enter the transfer portal. And I think that word, intentions, is where people are glossing over. And they think, well, the portal's already open. We're already losing guys. Well, You're not technically losing anybody because they can't go anywhere right now. But tomorrow, they will be able to, or today, or whenever you're listening to this, if it's after January 2nd, they will have been able to enter the portal. Up until this point, as we record on New Year's Day, it's all has announced intentions to enter the portal. So you got a 2-week window to enter. That does not mean you have to commit during that 2-week period. That is just your time frame to decide, I want to test the waters and I want to move on.
You're going to see a lot of people that have not made that declaration yet on social media or in the press or wherever. Nationally, over these next 2 weeks, there are going to be a lot of new names saying I'm entering the portal because they have waited until the portal. Maybe they've been trying to make their minds up during this time. But there are a couple of exceptions that do not have to be limited to this 2 weeks. And it's anytime a head coach leaves the school, from that day, players have 30 days that they can enter the portal, and anytime a grad transfer can enter. So you're going to see some people entering after this January 16 deadline. We just wanted to clarify for you on why you would say, well, how is this? I thought there was only a 2 week deadline. And then with that too, we always say, me and you on every show, social media, whatever, you're going to see a lot more people from your team enter the portal before you bring players in. And why is that? It's because you can't bring them out until they've entered. So there'll
Yeah.
be a few days where people are entering the portal, and then from there, the coaches can go in and say, okay, well, now let me do my due diligence. Let me scout this person, and would he fit with our system and that sort of thing. Then you'll see them brought in. But that does not mean that they have to be here by January 16th. Like you said, you're going to see these players added all throughout the spring and summer.
Yeah, I think this next 2 weeks is where a lot of folks get lost in the sauce and they're like, oh my God, the whole team is gone. What are we going to do? I
Mhm.
hate this system. And granted, I'm not a huge fan of the system either, but you have to have guys enter. And that doesn't mean just Marshall players enter. That means nationally, you have to have the portal filled with players for you to be able to recruit to your team. So you will undoubtedly see far more people over the next 2 weeks leave the Marshall program than
Mhm.
enter the Marshall program. Now, if it happens right out of the gate that they have a lot of guys lined up to commit, that would be pretty surprising, but it's also possible. It's just historically, we have seen at every
Mhm.
portal window since we've been doing this show, within that time frame, it's always heavy on the exodus and not too heavy on the coming to the program. That takes a little while. Like you said, they got to
Mhm.
do due diligence. They got to see who fits the system, and they have to recruit against other programs that feel the same way.
Yeah, they
So
got to check. They've got to check grades and things like that. I mean, different conferences have different, scales and metrics that they have to meet things. So there's just a lot that has to be done. We do have one player that has already committed to us to transfer in, and people may wonder how it's that possible. Well, that's because Division II and Division III can transfer right now. Division I cannot unless it was in that January 2nd to January 16th portal window.
yeah, that's another thing is we got ourselves a transfer offensive lineman last week, and everybody was like, well, how? Well,
Mhm.
Division II and Division III portal windows were already open, and
Mhm.
Division I window was not. The only I think the only other reason you might be able to see a Division I athlete uh, entering already and maybe committing is because it was a coaching carousel and they left and that triggered a 30-day window, so at any time of the season that can happen. When guys get fired mid-season, that triggers a 30-day portal window for those players on that roster. So
Mhm.
that's an ongoing thing. But for our purposes right now, it's January 2nd to January 16th is the portal open window. You do not have to commit within that same window, but you do have to commit early enough to be able to participate at the given portion of the season. Now, let me
Mhm.
expand on that.
Mhm.
You have to be enrolled at Marshall. Coincidentally, you pointed out to me by January 16th
Mhm.
this year because that is the last day at Marshall to add and drop classes. So a potential recruit commit portal player needs to be at Marshall enrolled prior to January 16th in order to participate in spring ball. Now
Mhm.
you can commit after January 16th. You just will not be eligible to participate in spring ball. They would still
Right.
be able to participate in summer practice and all that stuff. But the really big date, as far as Marshall's concerned, happens to coincide with the closing of the portal entry session, which is January 16th. So don't get that confused. Players can commit after January 16th. They just will not be able to participate in spring ball with the herd. Every school can be different, but Marshall's date happens to coincide with the last day the portal is open, which again is January 16th.
Yeah.
You pointed this out. Guys can really commit if they're not concerned with spring ball. They can commit all the way up until almost the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Almost. I mean, hell, a couple years ago, we saw a guy commit like game week.
Yeah.
Remember that? Like it was on a
Hmm.
Tuesday or a Monday, of game week was Saturday. So
Hmm.
you can see some really, really late additions, but for all intents and purposes, you want to get as many guys in the truck before January 16th so you can really get the full benefit of a spring ball practice with this team.
You may remember last year that after the spring game for Marshall, the very next day or the Monday, 2 days later, you saw a lot of players leaving because they entered the portal. That's because there's a second portal window, and that is not here. So you may see a bunch of people wanting to get here early so they can get in spring and in fall practice, because if they don't get in spring, they might not have a spot for fall practice. So you may see a lot of people in this 2 weeks doing a lot of committing right away so they can get with their new team and get the ball rolling, because there will be no other portal window unless they are a grad transfer.
Yeah, which is something obviously you got to keep an eye on if you're a
Hmm.
Marshall fan
Hmm.
anyway, because you want to have stiff competition through the spring. So
Yeah.
I would love nothing more than the next 2 weeks for us to be absolutely bonkers busy with trying to track outgoing transfers and incoming transfers. That makes our job a lot easier. I mean, they're firing off really quickly, but it's not one trickling in this week, two or three in a couple more days. You're
Hmm.
looking at potentially some big action in a short time frame that
Hmm.
really gives us an idea of what this 26 roster could look like. Now, I mentioned in the intro, where is the absolute top tier best place to track all of this? And that's of course thundercast.online. We do our best to repost when we see things from transfers out and guys committing to the program,
Hmm.
but we don't see everything. And we also like to keep things really organized. And Russ does a great job of not just one running list. You'll be able to click links at the top there to show who's going out and then who's coming
Hmm.
in, so they're not
Hmm.
all getting muddled together. And you're just, if you only care about who's coming in, you'll be able to skip directly to that.
Yeah.
But that's a popular tracker we do every single year.
Yeah.
And this might get some heavy traffic in a short amount of time with this portal window lining up with Marshall's ad drop date. So, is there anything we forgot? Do you want to run through it one time, give everybody the important points, and then we'll, let this sleeping dog lie?
Portal is open for the majority unless you are a grad transfer. It is open January 2nd through January 16th, but that is to enter the portal. You can always transfer any other time. It's just when you transfer, you have to be enrolled at your new school for the semester that you are able to participate. So whether that is spring, summer, fall, here at Marshall, other places do, you and I talked about this earlier, trimesters, quarters, things like that. It's whenever they are enrolled that they are able to, they have to be a full-time student, of course, to be able to participate with the football team during that time that they're enrolled. So other than that, you're going to see a lot of people entering over these next 2 weeks. Might see a lot of people come in. Just don't freak out if you don't see a bunch coming in by January 16th, because that is by no means the deadline. We're going to see a lot of action all summer long. And again, Thundercast.online, and it should be the very top story there that you can click. And like KD said, you can bounce around on the page to the different locations. But now that we've had someone come in, the transfers in is the section that's at the top. So you'll have to either scroll down or click the link to jump down to see the players that are transferred out. And you also see things like entered the portal, withdrew their name. We're going to list that as well. So we're not just going to leave them in the transfer out. We'll bump them into their own category and show you that they're still here at Marshall. We might have 75 categories by the end of this, but we're going to try to be accurate. That's the last thing that I'm going to say is we only put someone on there that has confirmed personally or the university or coaches have confirmed that that player is either leaving or that player is coming back. That's the or transferring in. That is the only time that we put them on there. We may know that they're in the portal. If it's not been announced, we don't list it.
That's right, man. We try, like I said, we try, but we really like to maintain accuracy above all else. The last thing I want to say is January 16th is the date we all want to circle and hope we can fill up that recruiting class with as many players as we can get, because that means, of course, they're eligible for spring ball. And if it is a light class and not very heavy before January 16th, all is not lost. It will just mean summer practices will be very, very heated for competition and depth. Russ, you got anything else? Let me have it. Otherwise, let's let the portal open and let the fun begin.
Yeah, whether you see us at January the 2nd, whether you see us at January 16th, or whether you see us sometime over the summer, no matter where you see us, transferring, staying, whatever, keeping track of it all, no matter where you see us, we're going to be saying, go Herd.
Go Herd. It's the Thundercast. If you're listening, transfer to the Herd. We're trying to win some games next year. We'll see y'all later.